this week's episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, Biba exacts his revenge against the samurai and unleashes a powerful monster upon the people. Biba is a bad man, but he pulls off pink oh so well. So who didn't see this episode coming? Am I right? Biba getting his revenge against the samurai and beginning his rise to power, influencing the people and executing the weak. This was a pretty heavy episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which also had some really great action, and we also got a big explanation as to what Biba is actually doing. He is actually creating these massive assimilated Kabaneri creatures, which makes that scene from the previous episode all the more revealing, and it also makes sense as to why Mume actually reacted the way she did when she saw that heart. It was probably someone that she recognized. In this episode, one of the followers of Biba, who goes by the name of Horibe, is going to be transformed into a giant black smoke Kabaneri monster. A zombie Voltron, if you will. Biba's plan is honestly pretty flawless how it ends up working out, especially how he's able to get rid of Ikoma and all of his friends, and how he's able to trick all of these samurai and execute them all at once with the big cover-up that it's actually just a big Kabaneri attack. He's gonna take all of the credit for saving everyone and use this as his way to rise up to power. And the way he does this is so fucked up by leading the train in with all the Kabaneri who just completely start devouring everyone in sight, and then of course his follower transforms into this massive Kabaneri heart which starts to assimilate all of these other bodies, but unlike the other black smoke monster, this one can actually shrink back down, and you actually get to see Horobi in this like weird Kabaneri armor, which frankly looks pretty awesome. When she's in this form, she goes into this like berserker-like rage where she pretty much attacks everyone on sight, no matter who they are, except of course for Biba. She gets stopped in her tracks and he actually ends up executing her, which not only freaks out Mume, but pretty much everyone in the general area, but it does make him look like a hero, which is what his plan was from the entire beginning. At the end of the episode, he starts giving this big speech and he starts to capture people who are disagreeing with him. Ikoma gets pushed to the ground, and then there's this one scene which frankly just felt a little too dark in my humble opinion, where there's this one kid who's bitten by a Kabaneri, and they decide that there's nothing they can do, and they just execute him, shooting him in the head like multiple times, and it's so stark and it comes out of nowhere that it just really brought me to my knees a little bit. There's also a scene earlier in the episode which is a great parallel to Mume and her mother, where she's trying to save this mother and her daughter from a Kabaneri attack, but they end up getting bitten and they commit suicide with one of those big explosive bags. The scene here is really shocking, and again just reminds the viewers that Mume is sort of constantly reliving all of the horror that she endured when she was a child, and she's just being strung along by Biba, who seems to have big plans for controlling everything. I'm even starting to think he might have been the one who actually created these things in the first place. I'm sure there's going to be one hell of a twist here, but we're going to have to wait to see what that brings. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress? It was okay. There was things about it that felt a little forced in my opinion, and it almost feels like we're getting really close to a finale, and I think maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit on that. I think I want more character development before we start getting to something like that. I actually don't know how many episodes this is going to be. They might actually be wrapping this one up in the next couple episodes, or it might be going for like a full long season, 24 to 26 episodes. I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to do from here, because there's a lot of room for development, not just from the main characters themselves, but just from the world. I want to learn a little bit more about this whole Kabaneri situation. That being said, it is really cool to have a human villain in a post-apocalyptic zombie series. There's only been so many other franchises which I think have been able to pull that off so well. Some that just come to mind are The Walking Dead, and this one's also doing a great job of that, and it also reminds me how much zombie movies and Attack on Titan have actually inspired this series just by watching this episode right here. I think the freshest thing about this episode, though, is just getting to see his follower Horobi transform into this weird freaky deaky monster. The fact that it was a family member or maybe like a friend of Mume that she actually killed in that previous episode where she killed the big black smoke monster is really shocking. And the fact that she can transform too and have like all those cool armors and sharp things on her arms just really leads to a lot of really cool action scenes, just for being cool and cool's sake. But really, that's all I have to say about this episode, which was very shocking, but did feel a little forced at times with what it's trying to do. That being said, it was still a really entertaining episode, and we got to see a lot of great action sequences, and it looks like we're building up to one hell of a great conclusion to this arc, or possibly even the finale of the series, although I just can't wait to see how they're going to wrap all that up. That being said, this was a pretty good episode right here, bringing a lot of tension to the series, and firmly establishing that Biba himself is not a very nice dude. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 4 out of 5. Another pretty solid episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, proving to be one of the more entertaining animes from this season. So make sure to check it out. But if any of you guys did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you have a favorite scene? What did you think of Biba's plan overall? Was there anything really shocking from this episode that freaked you out? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Tell me why in the comments section below. That's right, it's that time of the video where I ask you to subscribe and hit the like button and maybe even check out all our other cool videos. Make sure to do that. But guys, thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, stay dandy, baby.